Hey guys, Chris here from CarExpert, and we're back at Queensland Raceway, our test track. Today we've got the Audi RSQ3, our first SUV, a small one at that, but the first SUV on the track. It's a 5-cylinder, which sounds awesome actually, 5-cylinder turbo with 294 kilowatts and 480 newton meters of torque, right down at 1900 RPM, so that should be useful. 7-speed dual clutch transmission, and obviously the Quattro all-wheel drive system. Interested to see how fast this is. First we'll do the 0 to 100, and then the braking test, and then we'll get on the track and do some fast laps and see how quick she goes. So initial impressions, first the steering wheel, I love it. It's spot on. Alcantara finish, really nice shape for your thumbs, and the flat bottom, which is just a nice cool looking wheel. Paddles seem in a good position, no issue there at all. Seating's position's all right. I would have hoped for maybe a bit deeper bucket. It's just maybe like I'm sitting on top of the seat a little bit more than I would like, and also a little bit on top of the car. I'd like to be a little bit down and back lower, but also being an SUV, you do feel a little bit higher than normal, so that's a bit unnerving to be honest, but should be okay. Steering feels decent, but just a bit light initially. It'd be interesting to see how that feedback is as we build up the pace, see if we gain any more. The brake pedal, not bad, but got that feeling again, which we've had in the Audis, of it does more than I want. It's not as linear as some of the other cars. When you push the pedal, you'll ask and you ask more, and then it grabs a lot more. And I want more modulation control, so slight negative there. That engine does sound pretty cool. Now, 7-speed dual clutch. These have worked pretty well in the past on the track, so shouldn't be an issue. It'll just be interesting to see whether that's higher center of gravity hurts a lot, or whether it's able to manage the roll and control that through the corners. I am just moving around a little bit in the seat, and for a pretty sporty and performance car, I would have hoped for a little bit more lateral support. So let's try and do a lap and see how quick she goes. There you go, Audi RSQ3. Actually a pretty good lap time. I managed a 59.9 at best, and interestingly I did it with the suspension in the slightly softer settings, so not in the full dynamic mode. I did it in what's called the balanced suspension mode. So a step down. I just found I lost a little grip with the stiffer setting. The car wasn't moving enough to build grip, it was just more sliding on top of the surface, so it was nice to figure that out, and gained about half a second by doing that. And the car was actually easier to drive, a bit more mobile, a bit more dynamic. Generally a lot of good things, but nothing absolutely amazing, as you'd expect. The engine in the top end is actually really good. When you're in the right rev range, it works awesome, but if you're a bit below that, it takes a little bit of time to build up power, build up speed. Just feels like a bit of lag there. And I had a bit of trouble with the downshifts as well with the gearbox. It just didn't quite respond when I wanted to, and if I went for too early a shift, sometimes it would take 3 shifts to get the engine to change gears, where there it did it no problem at all, which is a bit strange. I don't understand why when you're driving around normal, it doesn't no problem, yet if you're doing it when you're pushing, it doesn't respond how I'd like. Traction wasn't an issue at all. I ran with all ESC off, traction control off, and never had an issue. So obviously the Quattro system works really well there. I would say with this system, which can send 70% of the torque to the rear, I still feel like it's a little bit biased towards a front drive feeling of the car, that it's not really driving from the rear at any point in terms of a balance change. So it still has that slightly understeer balance even on throttle. Even though the traction bonus is there, the balance benefit's not there in terms of the power distribution. Steering was okay, no big issues. Feedback wasn't too bad. It's light, but the feedback was okay. I knew when I was at the edge of the grip, and although I would like a bit more feedback, I didn't think it really hurt my lap time overall. Really, this car is going to be good on some back roads. It's actually quite pointy. I like the front end feeling. It felt quite nimble and reactive from the front when you did small movements, small change of directions, corner entry. That all felt really good. It was more on the longer corners where it struggled a bit more. And to be fair, that's a thing you find with a lot of road cars when you come to a track. They're going to struggle more on the longer corners. That's not what they're designed for. They're designed for shorter radius corners like you'd find on a normal road. And I think in that situation, you can have a lot of fun in this car. So there you go, guys, the Audi RSQ3, our first SUV on the track. And it did a pretty good job cracking the minute mark, which is pretty impressive for a small car. Now, overall, it wasn't perfect in all areas, but it did a pretty good job out there. Engine sounded amazing, and the chassis handled it all pretty well as well. My top 3 tips are, first, you've got to be a bit careful in balancing the car because it does have a tendency to understeer even though it's all-wheel drive, so be cautious of that. If you push too hard, you'll see some understeer. Also, being in the right gear is very important. The engine is strong up top, but missing a bit of response down low, so make sure you're in the right gear. And that brings me to my final point. You've got to be careful with the downshifts. It doesn't like you to shift too early, so you got to wait and be patient with that. Something I wasn't very good at. Overall, this is going to be a fun car on the road. Maybe not quite as suited to the track, but you'll have a lot of fun out on some twisty roads. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Lots of great content coming in 2021, so look forward to that, and let us know what you'd like to see on the track as well.